The magnetic pole naturally moves, and has even been known to shift hemispheres, turning the magnetic North Pole into the magnetic South Pole. As the poles shift, the magnetic field weakens. Scientists do not entirely understand the processes behind these shifts, but they previously thought such a dramatic movement required several centuries. A recent study of fossilized magnetization in rocks indicated a geomagnetic reversal that took place fewer than 100,000 years ago. The study concluded that a complete flip of magnetic poles happened over the course of 144 years. The last complete geomagnetic reversal occurred about 780,000 years ago. Modern geomagnetic measurements have shown that Earth's magnetic field is rapidly fading, by almost 16% since the year 1840. Ovadia suggests that such a pole shift will presage the arrival of Nibiru. He based this on his research into classical Jewish sources. The Midrash states that God initiated the flood in the time of Noah by moving two stars, Ovadia explained. This caused a shift in the poles of the world. The north became the south, dry land became oceans, and oceans dried up. Nibiru will shift the magnetic poles back to what they were before Noah. As a result, people will live much longer, for hundreds of years, as it was described in the Bible before Noah. Ovadia stated that the messianic process bringing about this pre-Diluvian reality described is awe-inspiring, even fearsome, in terms of the Bible. But the results will be quite utopian. Scientists and Western culture depict earlier eras as much worse, Ovadia said. They try to make people believe that technology is the answer to everything, that more technology means a better life. The Messiah is in the future, hopefully, the very near future. But it will have many elements of biblical times. That will be a vast improvement over what we have now. No wars, no disease or famine, and nature will be revived. So they are trying to sell the public on global warming.
Now to a dire warning about climate change. According to a new report, experts say that we have until 2030 to avoid catastrophe. It also says if unprecedented changes are not made and made soon, there will be irreversible damage to the planet. The report focuses on what could happen if global temperatures rise by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. It would likely mean more erratic weather, dangerous heat waves, rising sea levels.
Claiming that scientists can fix it by controlling the climate, Ovadia said.
The way we do that is we source 70 to 85%, right, of electricity from renewables. We put a price on greenhouse emissions, and then we use technology to remove the CO2 that we've already pumped into the atmosphere.
They don't really understand climate change.
Sorry, so this is what we've already done, right? We've warmed the planet since 1900 with the Industrial Revolution by 1 degree. What has that brought us? Well, that's brought us record heat waves here. Look at this, 2015, 2016, and 2017, all those years, 3 of the hottest years on record. We know the heat waves have been ongoing. We've had, of course, more record floods. We have more significant droughts. We have all these events that are more frequent and more intense as a result of climate change.
And they certainly can't control the weather.
And now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning.
But they don't want to talk about magnetic shift, because they can't control it, and what they know about it is turning out to be wrong.
In February, scientists released an emergency update to the World Magnetic Model that aids global navigation. And over time, airports have had to rename runways that were named for their magnetic heading.
They've all had to renumber the runways because it's changed that much.
The polar drift has even led to speculation that a weakening magnetic field might lead the north and south magnetic poles to flip spots, which last happened 780,000 years ago.
Scientists confirm that the magnetic pole shift is happening, and that it will have a major impact on the planet. Researchers estimated that the planet's magnetic field has already lost 30% of its intensity in the last 3,000 years, and predicted will drop to near zero in the next few centuries. This phenomenon, referred to as South Atlantic Anomaly, SAA, is blamed for an increasing number of electronic failures of navigation and communication satellites, and may affect earthbound power grids. The shifting polarity of the planet may also be behind outbreaks of migrating birds becoming confused and dying.
Wildlife officials in BC are trying to figure out why dozens of birds literally dropped from the sky dead. Witnesses say they'd never seen anything like it.
All of a sudden we've seen birds doing like loop-de-loops and all sorts of, flying around, and literally just turned around and went right into the ground.
Kevin Beach and his pal Sean Phillips were driving when the flock of birds fell out of the sky and hit the pavement. The pair pulled over to investigate.
The birds were twitching and they were in blood spots, like little pools of blood here and there. Like they hit the ground hard. They were dead.
This reduction in the planet's magnetic field may have another, more alarming implication than merely inconveniencing navigation. The magnetic field shields the Earth from most of the harmful radiation and particles emitted from the Sun. An article this week in Undark quoted Daniel Baker, director of the Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics at the University of Colorado, who is one of the world's experts on how cosmic radiation affects the Earth. Baker expressed fears that parts of the planet will become uninhabitable during such a magnetic reversal. The dangers could include devastating streams of particles from the Sun, galactic cosmic rays, and enhanced ultraviolet B rays from a radiation-damaged ozone layer, to name just a few. Indeed, shortly after the first geomagnetic polarity timescales were produced, scientists began exploring the possibility that reversals could be linked to extinctions, based on the hypothesis that high-energy particles trapped in the Van Allen radiation belt could be liberated and bombard the Earth. Tests of correlations between extinctions and reversals are difficult. Statistical analysis shows no evidence for a correlation between reversals and extinctions, but the possibility has not been ruled out. Another more aesthetic but less biblical side effect of the shifting magnetic poles may be the appearance of picturesque aurora borealis, known also as the Northern Lights, much further south than is currently being seen. So as the magnetic North Pole drops down to the southern half of the planet, the entirety of the world's population will have the opportunity to praise the beauty of God's creation. Yet after years of denying and debunking, NASA scientists confirmed the existence of a ninth planet in a discovery that seems to conform to popular theories of an apocalyptic collision with a planet called Nibiru. Skeptics, on both sides, bring their arguments, while researchers continue to present more amazing discoveries of this, yet to be seen, addition to the solar system. NASA published a press release stating that it had discovered unmistakable evidence of a ninth planet in the far extremes of space, orbiting the solar system. The planet is surmised to be 10 times the mass of Earth, but it has yet to be seen since its elliptical orbit is estimated to be about 60 billion miles away from the Sun.
That they finally have solid evidence for a planet X, a true ninth planet on the edge of our solar system.
While the ninth planet has not officially or technically been spotted yet, it is believed to be far beyond the orbit of Pluto, roughly the size of Neptune, with a mass 10 times that of Earth.
The description of the new planet conforms so closely to the predictions of Nibiru, a large planetary object that many believe will collide with the Earth, that NASA's press release contained a cosmic disclaimer. If a planet is there, it's extremely distant, and will stay that way, with no chance, in case you're wondering, of ever colliding with Earth, or bringing days of darkness. The similarities between Nibiru, also called Planet X, and the new NASA discovery are remarkable nonetheless. Brown and his co-researcher, Konstantin Batygin, based their conclusion of a ninth planet on their observation of 6 known objects in the distant Kuiper Belt, a region of icy bodies stretching from Neptune outward toward interstellar space.
So how did this discovery come about?
It came about because there are things out there, little icy objects that are orbiting in a funny way, and nobody was quite sure why. It seemed like there might be something with gravity pulling on them, but nobody quite understood. And finally, these scientists that you talked about took a really hard look at it, did simulations, calculations, and they came up with the explanation: it probably is this giant planet.
All the objects displayed elliptical orbits pointing in the same direction. The only explanation for this tilted orbit was the gravitational influence of another, much larger object.
And so there was a thought at one point from scientists that when they thought that there was something beyond Pluto, that it might have been all the massive objects floating in the Kuiper Belt, but it's not.
Right, so all those objects are out there and they have a lot of mass, and originally the scientists said, look, a planet is such a crazy idea, maybe it's the Kuiper Belt itself that's pulling it on itself and making these orbits look funny. And they ran simulations and they tried to make that work, and it didn't work. It just didn't work. There's not enough stuff out there.
Over long periods of time, Planet 9 will make the entire solar system plane precess, or wobble, just like a top on a table, Baqtun said. Similarly, Planet X was first proposed by astronomers in the 19th century to explain observed irregularities in the orbits of Uranus and the newly discovered Neptune. Though still the source of valid scientific conjecture, the Planet X theory was reworked into an apocalyptic version in the 1990s, in which planetary destruction from a planet called Nibiru is imminent. The NASA researchers are convinced that, unlike Planet X, their ninth planet does indeed exist. There are now 5 different lines of observational evidence pointing to the existence of Planet 9, said Baqtun. If you were to remove this explanation and imagine Planet 9 does not exist, then you generate more problems than you solve. All of a sudden, you explain them. So our question to you is, do you believe that Earth's magnetic poles just shift without explanation? Or that human population and cow farts are causing the climate change happening worldwide? Could there possibly be a Planet X behind the curtain, pulling the strings, waiting on the outskirts of our universe to make a cameo appearance just before the last curtain call? Whatever is causing these severe changes to our beautiful planet, there is something trying to send out a warning. We want to know what you think about this. Is the magnetic shift happening right now, causing the Earth to now wobble out of alignment as predicted by so many? NASA claims, if the planet continues on this path, most of the southern states will heat up, causing even more climate change. Right up till the beginning of a major planetary shift. Let us know what you have.